Right, on our news right here, it says finance expert says you need 2,500 XRP by August. Now, try to picture yourself holding a key to a vault before anyone else even realizes the lock is turning. Right now, as we navigate this July 2026, the sentiment across the crypto space feels cold and silent. Most people are waiting on the sidelines, convinced that the market won't hit its true bottom until much later this year. But in the global markets, the biggest moves almost always happen when the majority is looking the other way. Popular analyst Steph Is Crypto recently shared a bold breakdown on X that is creating massive waves across the community. The core message is that you might want to secure at least 2,500 XRP before August arrives. Why 2,500 XRP? Why August? And how could a modest $2,700 position potentially transform into over $42,000 by the end of 2026? So in this video, we are dissecting every single scenario, running the math on market caps and dominance levels, and looking at why waiting for perfect timing might be the biggest mistake an investor could make. So let's dive straight into the numbers. Why is the pre-August window so critical for XRP investors? The timing recommended by Steph Is Crypto centers on classic market phenomenon, and that's public consensus is rarely right at key turning points. Right now, this late July 2026 is marked by heavy bearish sentiment. Many retail traders are holding off, waiting for lower entries that may simply never come. So here's my opinion. I have watched this exact cycle play out time and time again. When everyone agrees that the market is going to drop further, institutional liquidity quietly steps in and absorbs to sell orders. The window right before August is critical because it represents the calm before a potential structural shift. If you wait until the media starts screaming that the rally has begun, the initial risk-to-reward ratio is already gone. Positioning early, while sentiment is still on the floor, is usually how the real money is made. So, the current price of XRP is hovering around $1.08. So, to acquire 2,500 XRP at this rate, an investors need roughly $2,700. Steph Is Crypto points out that this $2,700 entry isn't just an arbitrary number. It serves as a benchmark allocation to capitalize on three distinct market cap scenarios heading into the end of this year, 2026. So, what happens in a conservative $3.38 target scenario? The first model presented by Steph Is Crypto is what many would call the baseline or conservative scenario. This model does not rely on crazy, unprecedented market growth. Instead, it simply assumes that the total cryptocurrency market capitalization recovers to its previous record peak of $4.2 trillion by the end of 2026. So in this setup, XRP does not need to dominate the entire industry. It only needs to reclaim a modest 5% market dominance, a level the token has comfortably achieved in the past cycles, up from its current standing around 3.31%. Under these conditions, the math yields an XRP price of approximately $3.38 per token. Now, here's my opinion. This conservative case is actually the most compelling for risk management. Returning to a $4.2 trillion total market cap isn't a moonshot dream. It is simply a market recovery back to familiar territory. If XRP hits $3.38, that initial 2,500 XRP stack purchase for $2,700 expands to a value of roughly $8,450. That is more than 3 times return on a conservative outlook, which proves that you don't need wild 100x predictions to build serious portfolio growth. Now, can a $6 trillion market push XRP to $7.53? Moving beyond the baseline, Steph Is Crypto outlines a secondary moderate growth model. In this projection, the overall digital asset market capitalization expands to $6 trillion by the end of 2026. Alright? And this is driven by continuous institutional adoption, expanded real-world tokenization, and a clearer global infrastructure. Under a $6 trillion market cap, if XRP's dominance expands to 7%, the calculated price per token climbs to approximately $7.53. At this price point, holding a 2,500 XRP scales to an estimated $18,825. Now, here's my opinion. I find this 7% dominance metric very realistic when you factor in the institutional plumbing being laid down right now this 2026. A cross-border liquidity demand increases and banking rails integrate ledger-based settlements. Capital naturally flows into assets with proven utility. A $7.53 XRP target on an $18,825 return from a $2,700 entry shows what happens when real-world adoption begins to reflect directly on token valuation. Now, what is the bullish case for a $16.94 XRP price target? The final and most aggressive model for Steph Is Crypto envisions a full-scale macro expansion. In this scenario, the total market capitalization reaches an enormous $8.5 trillion. This would represent a complete market evolution, pulling in unprecedented amounts of institutional and sovereign capital. In this macro expansion, XRP's market dominance is modeled to rise 12%, a metric that aligns with historical dominance spikes observed during major multi-year altcoin expansions. If these parameters align by the end of 2026, the price of XRP would reach approximately $16.94 per token. At a price of $16.94, that exact same 2,500 XRP bag acquired for $2,700 before August becomes worth roughly $42,350. Again, $42,350. Now, here's my opinion. While a $16.94 price tag sounds staggering compared to today's $1.08 price level, my perspective as a market observer is that macro liquidity cycles always surprise people on the upside, just as much as they do on the downside. A 12% market dominance for a primary settlement asset during an $8.5 trillion cycle peak is mathematically grounded. It shows the incredible power of exponential growth once the market truly breaks out of its accumulation phase. And finally, here is our overall conclusion. Looking at all three models shared by Steph Is Crypto, the takeaway is clear. where the current market hesitation could be hiding a massive strategic opportunity. Whether XRP reaches the conservative $3.38 target for an $8,450 valuation, the modest $7.53 target for $18,825, or the bullish $16.94 target for $42,350, the math highlights an asymmetrical risk to reward ratio. As we approach August 2026, the market consensus remains fearful and patient. But history favors those who position themselves before the crowd realizes the cycle has shifted. 2,500 XRP represents a calculated stake in the future of institutional utility, and keeping a close eye on these dominance metrics will be the key as the rest of the year unfolds. And this finally ends our video. Thank you very much for watching and see you on the next one, or you might just as well check this next recommended video right here.